Hello, this is Keith All, and welcome back. Have you ever wondered how you could build a pivot table in Excel and get, like, say, total revenue for your fiscal year instead of calendar year? Well, if you have wondered about that and how to do it, uh, please continue to watch because I'll show you how you could do this. Now, right now we have a data set here, and as you can see, it's by product date. You have regions. You also have revenue, cost, and profit. But our whole goal is to report our total revenue per fiscal year instead of calendar year. So one way to do this in Excel 365 is we need to build a helper column that associates this date over here with a fiscal year. And one way we could do this, additionally, we need to have like a separate table. Both the data tab and this tab are formatted as Excel tables. And we must signify what is fiscal, what our fiscal period is, and it starts and ends with. So in other words, we want our fiscal period to start with September 1st, and it ends the following August 31st of the following year. So now what we want to do is we want to report our revenue by this fiscal year. So let's go back to our data table. Let's insert a helper column, okay? And let's highlight that, right click, insert. Let's rename this to fiscal year. And now let's use a lookup function. Well, we could use different methods for this, but today I'll show you how to do it with XLOOKUP. And let's get rid of this space up here. There we go. And let's do an XLOOKUP. So equal XLOOKUP. What is the lookup value? Well, our lookup value is the date column. Okay. The lookup array is going to be over in our fiscal year table, and it's going to be the start date. And then our next is what do we want to return? Well, we want to return the fiscal year. Okay. And then we must use, instead of XLOOKUP's default match is an exact match. So we want to, in this case, let's just skip the if not found argument, and let's go over to this argument here, which is the match mode. Again, like I said, XLOOKUP's default match mode is an exact match. Well, we don't want that. So how do we do this? Well, we're going to do this either in an exact match. So in other words, we want to exactly look for 9/1/2019 or whatever the value is in our data table, or we want to find the next smaller item in this case. So let's select that. It's going to be -1. Close out the XLOOKUP, press enter, and now it returns a date. Well, why did it do this? Well, when we inserted a column, it inserts it to the right of, or actually to the left that we selected the column originally, and it inherits the default data type of the column next to it. In this case, it was a date. So this is formatted as a date. Well, we don't want that. So what we want to do is we want to change that to a general in this case, and it returns our fiscal year. So in this case, 1/1/2020, let's go back to our lookup table. It looks for 1/1/2020. Well, it can't find 1/1/20. So what it does, it looks for the next smaller item, which in this case is going to be 9/1/2019, and that's how it associates the fiscal year. Okay, now since we have this now in our data tab, now let's build a pivot table off of this. Let's do insert pivot table. It automatically detects our range here, which is data. It comes up data because I named this table here data. Let's put it on a new worksheet and let's build out the pivot table that shows revenue by fiscal year and not calendar year. So first of all, let's drag date into the rows. Okay, and as you can see, Excel knows it's a date, so it automatically groups our dates for us. But what we're interested in is just the year, okay, and the months. So let's kick out quarters. Let's click out date. So now we got years and months in there. If we expand this, you could see that. Now, before we put in the fiscal year, let's see what happens with revenue. We're going to sum up the revenue. Excel automatically detects it's a number, so it's and it sums up the revenue here. So now, right now, we're getting revenue per year, not by fiscal year. So let's first let's format this. Right click, number format, and let's put a currency figure, decimal place is 0. Press OK. Now, instead of this, we want to put the fiscal year. So let's drag fiscal year, put it on top here. And now you could see that our revenue column is now by fiscal year instead of calendar year. As you can see here, the first subgroup here is for fiscal year 2020. Okay, remember fiscal year over here in the rows area is the top level, and then this would be considered calendar year right here. But this total here, right here, is actually the fiscal year. Why is it reporting January through August? Because our data here begins in 2020 in January. So let's go back to our pivot table. And as you can see, it picks up the data for January through August. Remember, the end of our fiscal year is August, as you can see. So let's go back over here. Now, going to the next year, 2021, we have data for the full year, for the full fiscal year. Remember, our fiscal year starts in September, so that's where we're picking this up, and it goes all the way through August of the following year. So this is one way that you could build a pivot table based upon your fiscal year numbers. Hopefully this gave you an idea to help you in your future projects on how you could report numbers on your fiscal year. Again, I want to thank you for stopping by today. You have a great day. Remember to subscribe to my channel. And as always, please like and share because this helps this video get out to more people who need to learn this information. Thank you, and you have a great day. Bye now.